Hey, this is Malika of Evanston Live TV, and we have some special guests here today. They're going to talk about a word that I don't know, your interpretation of the word. I know for me, depends on who says it, whether I embrace it or whether it might be cause for an issue to occur. And we have two people here that are well respected and they have an event coming up to discuss this word. So the name of the project is the N-word Intervention Project. This is going to be serious, y'all. I can't wait for this
It
event.
is.
Absolutely. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And everybody needs to attend this event. So I want to welcome my guests here today. We have Dr. Gilo Quasi Logan. Welcome back to the show, Dr.
Thank
Logan.
you. Thank you. Thank you again.
You've been on many times. I've been through your trainings. This man is absolutely amazing, can relate to everybody. He's traveled the world, and that's why he's able to consult people on these types of things because he can understand it from every point of view, and we so appreciate that. So welcome back to the show, Dr. Logan.
Well, thank you. All that. And where would I be without you? So thank you. How about that?
And then he's doing this event, this project with a woman that I just met. And I'm already loving her spirit, her energy. And we go to the same church, but you know, doesn't always mean anything, but she's got a foundation that I respect absolutely. And she's bringing some knowledge with Dr. Logan. And I know anyone that Dr. Logan is working with, she got to be just as powerful and amazing. So please welcome to the show for the first time, Dr. Doreen Wheeler.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. So, Dr. Logan, tell the people, those who don't know you, I mean, everybody knows you, your work around town, your family, you have roots here in Evanston. Can you break down to people, just give them a little brief into who Dr. Logan is before we get started on the N word?
Sure. So yes, greetings of Dr. Gilo Quasi Logan. My roots extend from the plantation, the Logan plantation in South Carolina. We escaped the lynchings there and came to Evanston in about 1905. And on my mother's side, we came from Canada in about 1895 from Windsor, Canada into Evanston. And apparently we went north on the Underground Railroad. So I'm a fifth generation Evanstonian, serve as the president of Dr. Logan Consulting. So an equity and inclusion consulting firm, working with the corporate sector, nonprofit organizations, primarily educational institutions, do some work with law enforcement and governmental agencies, helping leaders and teams and individuals and organizations develop cultural competencies so that we can succeed in this complex, diverse global society in which we work and live.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Dr. Wheeler, I cannot wait to hear about you because I'm just so impressed with you in meeting you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I have not studied the history of my people as detailed as Dr. Logan has. My family is originally from Arkansas. My mother's mother migrated to Cleveland, Ohio. So that's where I was born in the 60s. So I'm a child of the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. I got my undergraduate degree from the College of Wooster in Wooster, Ohio, in studio art. So nowhere near doing anything of what the Lord led me to do and where I'm at. But I use my art for therapy. I use my art in all kind of ways because I'm a short story fiction writer. I write poetry, write different things. But as an academic, I am professor at Northeastern Illinois University. I have been there 17 years. In the fall, I will be starting my 18th year there. I coordinated our Master in Community and Teacher Leaders program, which has a social justice focus. It uses transformative pedagogy, urban and culturally relevant and culturally sustaining pedagogy. And it's one of the rare programs that has community organizers and nonprofit folks in the classroom with pre-K through 12 teachers and solving problems and working and understanding how education has to be a community type experience. I've also am a co-editor with Dr. Perlow, Dr. Bethia, and Dr. Scott on Black women's liberatory pedagogies, resistance, transformation, and healing in and beyond the classroom. It's an edited volume of Black women speaking about their teaching practices and talking about healing and using the classroom for various ways. And I was fortunate to meet Dr. Logan when I moved to Evanston in 2007 or 8 or something like that. And he also worked at Northeastern for a while. So that's how we got connected. And he just became my brother. He is one of the anchors of my tribe that has helped me raise my son and get him off to college. And I am so proud to say that he is a product of Evanston Township High School, Haven Middle School, and Lincoln Elementary School. And we've been through some stuff with those schools, but we got through. So I'm just happy and proud to be here today.
Awesome, awesome. You know what I love about the two of you is that you're both these PhDs, but you're artistic at the same time. So I know that when you do this project, when you do this presentation on May 6th, you're going to explain it in a way that we can all understand in a creative way. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. Because, you know, sometimes when people start hearing PhD, Dr. So-and-so, you know, they're like, oh Lord, they're going to be speaking over our heads. We're not going to understand anything. But what I love about the two of you is you're going to make it where everyone can relate. Everyone can understand what's actually taking place. So thank you so much, one, for doing this project.
Sure.
Needed. That word can do so much. It has an impact. So what is the origin of this project?
Yeah, well, it goes back from the time we found ourselves in this so-called New World country of the United States of America. However, back when my two sons were in elementary school, which led to the Beyond Diversity conversations that the district had, which led to continuing to do that work. And in doing that work, I reached out to my colleague here and good friend and my sister, Dr. Wheeler, to partner with me because of all that she brings to it. So in our partnership, we began, because, you know, again, to your description, Malika, you know, Dr. Wheeler's she's in the academy working as a professor, but yes, she's able to work with children. And that's a rare talent. And I saw that and work with parents and everyone in between. So I reached out to her. We did some cultural programming at some of the elementary middle schools in the local area. And then once this proliferation of the N-word occurred and once it continued, and I just saw how districts and teachers and parents and caregivers there was fear, people were confused as to should I respond, should I not respond? Well, am I Black? I mean, if I'm not Black, should I say something? And is this for me to engage in? And there was confusion, there was fear. Some folks were just oblivious as to what to do. And so I just saw the void and I saw the need. And I didn't see the resources for being proactive and also to properly react to situations if and or when they happen involving the N-word. And I saw this need was so great, I knew I couldn't meet it on my own. So I reached out to Dr. Wheeler, and then we became the co-parents, the co-editors and authors of the N-word Intervention Project.
What's been the response to this so far? I mean, just the title of it alone grabs your attention. And I don't know, does that cause some fear, hesitation in some people?
Well, I think at first, because we were commissioned by a school, by the DEI person in the district to try to address this problem. And I think like with anything, but especially with this particular word, because of the complexity of its history, the racism and the slur and all the things that's connected to the origins of what it is, that, you know, white folks are scared of it, and even some Black folks. And when we have done some of the trainings, it has brought out some very emotional happenings and occurrences in people's lives. It has taken people to different places. And that is why we have set up a training that's specifically for students, that's age specific, and also for families and parents, because if your child is dealing with this, you need to be dealing with this, as well as educators and staff. And I think that people want to talk about it, they just don't know how. And this project and the work that Dr. Logan and I have done with our team allows people a way to talk about it, and a way to also teach about the social emotionalness of it, the history, and introduce people to issues of colorism and racism that are rampant within the United States on a developmental level.
And Malika, to your question, so yeah, we were commissioned, we were asked to kind of do this work. And we take it as an opportunity. So when incidents involving the N-word happen, we see it as an opportunity, right, for learning. So we lean into that. We don't run from it. We lean into it. And it's an opportunity for learning, for growth, for development, to bring in the history and the social context of it and our various identities. I mean, there's a lot that we can unpack. So when we brought this to some of the schools that we were piloting this program with, they really appreciated the curriculum that we developed, the resource guide, and really felt that we helped them to develop a foundation upon which they could sustain themselves doing this work around the N-word and other forms of hate speech, right? So the response has been very positive. It's been very favorable. And to your previous points, there's a lot of fear around this. So they really embraced the opportunity for Dr. Wheeler and I to come in and model how you can have these conversations, to model how you can engage with young people to help address some of these situations, and to model how we're not perfect ourselves. We're still learning throughout this process as well. So the response has been very positive and very favorable thus far.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna keep thanking you all throughout this interview for doing this, because it is so important. I think back to the first time I heard the word that was spewed out at me in a hateful way. I almost think I need therapy from that, because I think I was 5 years old and I heard it from some grown white men. Um, yeah, I never forgot it. I never forgot it. And then as time went on, I heard it more and more and more and more and more. It packs a punch, and my reaction has been different over the years
Mhm.
to it. So yeah, and then the discussions amongst Black people,
Yeah,
whether or not we use the word
yeah.
with each other. And I'll say I'm one of those people. I don't mind it when we use it with each other. I can't explain why that doesn't bother me, but I
Mhm.
know it bothers some people. Like my mom does not like it. She just don't use the word ever. Just don't use it ever. Um, so that's a tough one. So what have you gotten? I don't want you all to give too much away because I want people to definitely come to this, but has that been something that's come up?
Yeah, I mean, when you're studying this word and you're looking at like not only the origins and the history and how it connects to racism and white supremacy, you can't help but connect it to the lived experiences of individuals that have had it spewed at them in a negative, derogatory way, like you say. And one of the things that we found in previous orientations is it is extremely generational who and how Black people feel about this word. And who they feel should say it or not say it. Like you said, how your mom is like, no, 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 no. Like me and my son fight all the time about that word. I didn't educate him. He just said it. I like whenever we're in the car with his friends, I'm like, y'all know the history. They like, yeah, we know, Miss Wheeler. Why are you running it down? I said, then why y'all using it? So I think it's really, really generational. But I think one of the things that's the blessing of what we do is we give a sphere and an opportunity for those kind of discussions to take place. And that's an ageless discussion of how you feel about it and helping everybody's voice to be heard so that there can be some kind of boundaries and some kind of, compromise met with where we are. But personally speaking, I don't feel the word need to be used at school ever. And the research shows, Dr. Tyrone Howard, Dr. Elizabeth Stoudemire Pryor, Dr. Lester Neal shows that this word being used in school and even academic higher education settings, students feel harmed by the word.
And Malika, to your point, so we developed a framework called the CHILL. It's the CHILL framework as an acronym, CHILL. And essentially, as I was trying to make sense of all of the articles and books and documentaries and podcasts and websites and everything written about the N-word, I was trying to understand that myself, right, to inform my practice. And out of that, as I kind of categorized the information and as I engaged in that literature review, the CHILL framework came out of that. So C is for the context. So the context in which situations happen. So this is a framework for engaging with the N-word, right? And engaging in conversations and things that we need to consider. So in short, the C is for the context in which situations happen. And it's also for like the cultural context. So there's this concept of high and low cultures, or thick and thin context cultures. Like, so for Black folks, we derive meaning, not just from what's said, but our relationship with people, how it's said, like that's also part of the context. The H is for the history, particularly the history of white supremacy in the United States. The I is for identity, focusing on racial and ethnic identity development. So in other words, the racial identity of an individual who heard the word being said, who said it, or who it's being said to, all of these are factors that shape what it means to us and how we respond to it or not. The first L is for language, the power of language. So we deal with the whole notion of appropriation and the N-word with the ER at the end or the AH at the end. And, so we engage in those discussions. And then the last L is for lived experience. So like you said, your mom, so she comes from a different generation. She came, through the 60s and out of the 60s. And depending on if you grew up in the North or the South or another country, or depending on your past experiences and your religious affiliation and so on and so forth, those lived experiences shape and mold how we perceive these situations or the N-word itself. And so we developed that framework to help people engage with it as opposed to run away from it.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for May 6th. So is it just the two of you, or are there others part of this?
No, we are blessed to have a team. Dr. Logan, tell her about our team.
Yeah. So, again, going back to your previous question, it kind of went from me, it went to we. Dr. Will and I really took this forward, and then we have a great, phenomenal, talented, smart, committed, passionate team who are involved in developing what Dr. Will and I put in place, but also involved in the consulting and the facilitation of it. So Rena Campbell is one, Dr. Wendy Yanow, Dr. Ron Whitmore, Mirza Campos, Tracy Olasimbo, and Jared Davis, and Dr. Sarah Elizabeth. So those are the various consultants that we currently have on board. So we've got some mixture in terms of race, we've got an ethnicity and language, religion. So we have some of those variations that we bring into our consultancy, but we're also looking, once we develop this and establish it, we want to expand that. But that's currently our team. We have the 9 consultants, including Dr. Wheeler and I, but this is totally a team effort, and most of them will be there on May 6th as well.
What are your expected outcomes for this? So what are you all expecting people to walk out with?
The main thing is for people to know that there are options for you to address this, that use it as a teachable moment. And like Dr. Logan said, use the work we have done in our services to help lean into this, to deal with teaching our young people and modeling for them how to communicate, how to address their feelings and their issues, but also that their voice needs to be heard and their perspective is just as important as our perspectives as adults.
And I would just add that for people who come, they'll have an opportunity to actually participate in some structured, constructive discussion around the N-word. They'll learn a little bit about the history of the N-word. They'll learn how to unpack situations involving the N word. We're going to model that, like we're going to actually engage in that. We're not telling people how to do it. They're going to be engaged in the process of doing that. They'll learn how to question, how to act, like questions to ask when engaging with the N word. They'll gain access to some resources. They'll learn of the services that we provide. And they also will enjoy a performance by Soul Creation. So there'll be some West African drumming and dance, some West African drumming from 12:45 to 1 o'clock that's going to precede it. And then we're going to close with a number that's very dear to my heart. It's very personal to many of us. It's called Jambado. And Jambado is a rhythm that, according to my understanding, it's a rhythm that our ancestors were forced to play on the slave ships. And then the cargo, our ancestors, the cargo were brought up from the belly of the ship to quote unquote dance, to so-called keep them healthy and fit, to keep the investment intact, right? And then our ancestors would play Jambado on the slave deck, and they would force them to dance. So we're going to play that rhythm, and we have a special presentation. It's the closing of it, but it's going to be a special presentation in honor of our ancestors, because for many of our ancestors, the last word they ever heard in their life was the N word. And we want to honor them, and we want to honor their souls. And even for those who that wasn't the last word they heard, but throughout their lifetime, they were treated as such. So the N word is the word, but then there's also that's woven into policies and practices, and it's institutionalized in our society today. But that's a whole nother conversation. But we're going to honor our ancestors in playing Jambado. So for people who come, they'll also have that experience.
So you need to spoon feed us.
It's
That's
a
a lot.
lot.
It's a lot. It's not as simple as it sounds. Just don't use the word. Nope. You need to
It's-
know the foundation, the history. You need to know everything about the word. So if you decide not to use anymore, you know really why.
That's
And
right.
if you continue to use the word, you need to know how you're using this word, why you're using this word, what's really rooted in you that you feel you can use the word. Yeah.
Because arguably it's one of the most, I don't know, divisive, potent, dangerous, lethal words in
Mm.
the English language. So, right, to your point, if we're using it, we need to be mindful of some things. And if we're not using it, let's really understand why and be grounded in that.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not proud to say it. It sparked violence in me in my younger days as a reaction. Um, and I can already tell just in this conversation with the two of you that I really don't know the real history of it. Like I thought I knew.
Mm.
I was like, oh, they about to really educate us on some real history on the word. I just know when I was called that word as a child, when I was a youngster, it I don't know if the spirits just came over me. I can't explain it. But yes,
Mm.
it caused issues for me, as that would be the only time you would see me be violent, have a
Mm.
violent reaction. But as I got older, of course, I learned to, not be volatile when I heard the word. But oh
Dramatic,
yeah, oh yes,
dramatic.
yeah,
And
I
then we
can't
have
wait.
multi-generational trauma from the
Exactly.
N word.
Yes.
So it's deep. It's really deep. We understand that, to our knowledge, there's nothing like this that's been developed nationwide, specifically as we have. So we understand that we have something here that can be of real value to educators, to parents, caregivers, anyone who works with youth. I mean, just to the community in general. So we see this as a privilege. It's a great opportunity. We don't take it lightly. I personally see this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion work I do to me, it's an ancestral calling. I'm just honoring the call of my ancestors, and I'm honoring them in doing the work. I mean, essentially, that's what it all comes to, and that's reflected in the N-word intervention project, because we are intervening in these situations. That's the intervention. We are stepping in, we are leaning in, we are engaging, and these are opportunities, and these are teachable moments. So we are leaning into it as part of our work.
The other thing that we are working on to get published is the curriculum and resource guide. that is like the next thing that we want to drop and make sure that people can have access to that. And that has actual lessons that are developmentally appropriate, scripted lessons for teachers from pre-K through 8th grade, so that they can think about whether it be a social studies lesson, a melanin lesson, a Great Migration lesson, a words that hurt lesson, but lessons that teachers can use to supplement and try to start some of these conversations. And each lesson builds upon the next, so that if you're in the same school using this book, it's a different lesson for each grade. They're not repeated, but they do overlap and connect.
And to Dr. Wheeler's point, so what we developed again is proactive. So yeah, so we did say pre-K, that was not a slip of the tongue. But pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, third grade, it's really about preventing these things from happening and giving them the tools to be able to navigate situations when they happen, and to cultivate a positive sense of identity, and to really cultivate some social emotional learning so that they're equipped to handle situations. That's so the N word is not in that curriculum per se, because it's preventative. But then we also have the lessons that, yeah, a social worker, a school therapist, a psychologist, a teacher, they can utilize it to respond to a situation. And these are resources parents and caregivers can utilize as well.
You know, I pushed for curriculum for the state
I sure do.
for accurate history to be taught, because it feeds into our self-identity, our self-worth, our self-value. So this definitely has to be a part of the curriculum throughout the state, the country, the world, really. Yes, yes, yes. Because you already feeding me just in this interview. I don't think you all realize you're feeding me right now, because it's got my mind. You're feeding me, and our children need that. Yes, pre-K.
Yeah,
Pre.
That's
because
right.
we wonder, our children learn to hate. So we need to teach them how not to hate, and we need to teach them how to grow in equity and inclusion versus the negative things that they have been grown into and taught.
So I know I got to let you all go. Y'all got a presentation to put together on May 6th. So if people want more information about this launch, where can they go? Where can they go learn about this? And I am encouraging people, please attend this launch. This is an important launch. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for that. It is important. It was born and bred right here in Evanston. So before it goes global and nationwide, or even throughout the region, it's going to be right here in Evanston in the Chicagoland area. And it is open to the whole community
Yes, it
to
is.
attend. It's for grown folks, though. We want to underscore that point, because the N word will be used. So this is not a space for children, although we are talking about how to deal with children. But this is a space for grown folks. Everyone, every race, every ethnicity, every nationality, everyone's invited to attend, particularly those who work with youth and with young people. So that's on Saturday, May 6th, from 1 to 3 o'clock at Fleetwood Jourdain Community Center here in Evanston. And again, from 12:45 to 1, we'll have a drumming treat for those who want to come early and settle in and kind of feel the vibe before we kick it off.
And it will also be live streamed if you can't make it in person.
And they can,
At that Central Standard Time.
yes, thank you. And that link will be on the website. So for people who want more information, or they have questions, or they're interested in perhaps bringing us in, they can reach out on the website. That's www.drloganconsulting.com. So drloganconsulting.com. You can shoot a personal email to Logan@drloganconsulting.com and get a personal response. Or you can even call or text 847-977-1141. So if you want more information, or if you're interested in bringing us in, by all means, reach out.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Logan, Dr. Wheeler. Thank you for being the human beings that you are, driven to do this work. You've been assigned to do this work, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for this
Thank
moment.
you. Thanks for helping to get the word out, because we can do the work, but if we can't get the word out, so
Exactly.
thank you.
We appreciate you.